Luke, obviously really impressive win. The way you guys kind of turned it on first couple of changes in the second quarter, but then a really dominant third quarter. You must be really pleased.
Yeah, over the moon. It was. We were a bit rattled early. We went in knowing that they were going to have a reasonably strong intercept presence. Their key backs got terrific craft. They positioned well, and so we knew being a tall, short town there, we were going to need to use the ball well in a certain way, and when we had Norts and Buku there, and sometimes there's only one, we were going to have to be ultra sensitive to the risk, and they got the ball back and shared it, and it was a lot of uncontested marks in the first quarter, so it was pretty concerning. So we needed to take a calculated risk and make sure we had even more presence forward of the ball, and that's why Rory went there. We knew that was going to mean that in our back end, with the inexperience in our key back positions, we were going to be a bit vulnerable. But I thought the boys fought it out well, and in the middle parts of the game, we managed to get territory too from centre bounce, and our efficiency from forward half turnovers was. To kick 6 goals from 15 forward half turnovers is a bloody good strike rate for us, and the centre bounce side of it and stoppage side of it was really pleasing again. We let them go end to end a few times. They scored from their back end, especially early in the game, and really proud of the boys. Everyone is who supports them. It was a big game. Every game's a big game, but. It was a terrific outcome.
You talk about that inexperienced down back. Obviously, Jed comes in for his first, kind of a big call to bring him in, that's been spoken about. But you must have been stoked with not just how he did, but the whole defence did against what's a pretty star-studded Giants forward line. Yeah,
we thought Jed played his role for a first gamer, and he was integral to us being able to hold up under some pressure at times, and he and James. They'll learn from different things, but when you add, Bailey Williams was really solid. He sort of fortified that defence when we needed to put him back, because if taking Lobby out of there, we needed a replacement, and Bailey, Truck went back there, and which meant we needed to shift something to the wing, because Bailey's been in really good form as a winger. But Luke Cleary, I thought, his game went to a better level tonight, and our higher backs played pretty well. So, the midfield group, and I thought Tim English had one of the more influential games tonight. So that was important for us, and he really had a say in the momentum in the game.
54 points from stoppage today, 61 last week, plus 22 clearance wins. Has there been a change in the last week or two that have really got you guys humming? I think you're always making alterations on the run. The thing about stoppage work and the uncertainty in there is you've got to turn it into certainty for yourself. And the art of good stoppage play is being good at being proactive. And so Lady and Jaron Geary work really closely with our midfield, and we're working on different things in different areas, and I think there's a real strength in there. There's a tenacity in the contest, and I think they're sharing the ball pretty well too. So I think 4 of those goals were from centre bounce again, and that matters. And if you're not kicking them, at least we started to get some forward 50 stoppages in the second quarter. Started to get a bit of territory, which was fantastic. Largely off Tim and the inside mids work, and Buku thought held up pretty well as a second ruck. So you've got to keep changing it up, because the opposition see what you do, and there's quite a few boys going through there too. Some of the younger guys, Joel Fraser, obviously his first year as an inside mid, and Sando's playing different roles, and even Westy's in there a bit, and Harmsy's sort of playing a high. So you've got a lot of bodies going, and I think they're managing it really well at the moment. And And so, yeah, coming up against Port Adelaide this week, their midfield have actually probably got on top the last couple of times we've played them. So we're going to have our hands full in Ballarat.
Adam mentioned in his responses, it was hard to hold up against your shape and how you held your positioning. How important is it to teach the younger kids, particularly, that it's not always about ball winning, it's about maintaining your shape and working on that transition?
Yeah, it's ultra important. The kids who come in go on this really steep learning adventure. The curve goes like that. I think it's well documented. So Riley Sanders last year, his experience at playing senior footy first time and high possession winner in his age group and for the state or for the Allies as an under 18 player, highly talented, very capable. And he's learned some things, and now the balance in his game is getting better and better. And so I'm talking about a second year player there. So when you think about say first year players coming in like Josh Dolan and Sammy Davidson and even Cooper Hines coming on at the end, you can be exposed if they're not holding or not running the right patterns when others are in the thick of things. So the coaches do an extraordinary job with our players. All through our roster, I could name them all. I wish I probably shouldn't I? But the boys who are here tonight, I mentioned Lady and Gears, but Matty Spanger and Daniel Pratt, offensive and forward line is Spang and defence and back line is Pratty, and then their supporting acts in Alex Johnson. Now Alex has spent a lot of time with Jed Buslinger, and so Jed makes his debut, and when he first came to us, Jed had shoulder surgery, and he was physically a long way off playing senior footy, but he needed to make some progressions. It was really difficult at the start because he's just undersized and light for a key back, even at state league level. But he's worked quite intimately with Alex, so it was a nice moment that Alex could announce that he was making his debut. And then, Benny Reid is new to us this year, and Reid's spending a lot of time with the young forwards, and Stewie Edge coaches the Footscray side and does a magnificent job, and obviously Ego as more of a manager, a footy manager, but does some coaching as well, and all those guys are just really critical to what we do. I think the relationships are really strong, and the players are benefiting from it.
You mentioned being one tall light tonight. I think they ended up with 30 more marks than you guys. But I did notice a couple of times it looked like you were trying to spoil an attacking mark. Or how important is it to halve a contest rather than losing it?
Yeah, well, Norts and Lobby and Buko at times, I thought they just did an extraordinary job after quarter time. They were able to mitigate that risk when it didn't get kicked to their advantage. They were able to somehow get it to ground, and then we scooped up some loose balls. We kicked goals from the goal square or just outside it. I thought we shared the ball around, got some snaps, and obviously Harmsy is as a midfield type, a little bit forward, but mostly through the wings, and to kick 4 goals. We had 13 scorers, and that's the way we're going to need to do it. I think we had 4 rush behinds in the end, so that means we might have been able to make different choices in those circumstances. But yeah, they did a terrific job. I mean, none of those guys had huge possession numbers. They didn't kick a lot of goals, but they were able to keep the ball in our territory, get us a stoppage, or they shared the footy and others got the spoil. So after quarter time, the boys had a real resolve, and that's one of the reasons we definitely got on top, because we had to take their intercept game off them.
It seemed like you ran a really open forward line, particularly after half time, quite high and sort of charging back once the ball went in. Was that a conscious response to the marking power and the defensive quality for the Giants?
Probably quite the opposite in the early parts of the second quarter, because we felt that they were beating us back to ground ball situations, and going from those possession gains to shape to uncontested marks, and then we couldn't stop their transition through their width or through the outside well enough. So we needed to get enough numbers there to stop that. But then once we got a bit of a lead and some ascendancy, it meant we could do different things with our forward line, because we knew they were going to press a bit harder. So you saw probably some variations tonight that reflected what their threats are, and maybe the momentum shifts in the game.
Bont had another big game. I assume he's not hurt, so I feel like this is a safe one. 10 score involvements, ton of clearances. How much does he mean to this football team?
Oh, well, I mean, it's a rhetorical question, isn't it? Yeah. He means an enormous amount. But, we, as I've said before, we can't be too Marcus conscious, because we need to share the responsibility and share the roles, especially when he's not in the team. I mean, it's only his second game back, and we played some reasonable footy. I mean, he was, again, outstanding last week in his return. So, I mean, he's just he's a great player.
You're running him out of full forward at one point, like super deep forward, and I think I saw him half a kick behind play a couple of times. Is it handy having a guy who can do everything?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's some flexibility in the roles that he plays. Some of it's orchestrated, some of it's instinctive. He's obviously a very smart player, and he reads turnover extremely well. But yeah, I mean, centre bounce, you can't fit them all in the centre circle, and we've got some really effective centre bounce players. While Marcus is out of the team, that mix of Matty Kennedy, Libba, Ed Richards and Joel Frazier, a little bit of Riley Sanders, a little bit of Riley West, they're doing really well. They really stood up, and so now Marcus is back. Doesn't mean you take the chances and the opportunities off those guys. You just got to share it around a bit, keep the energy up in there. And so sometimes you'll start forward, sometimes you might start in other spots, because Bedford went to him at the start, and so you can make it pretty difficult for the opposition to follow through on those stopping roles and tasks by the uncertainty in where that player might play, and Marcus can play everywhere.
Last one, guys.
Thanks, guys.